The Nintendo DS is easily one of my all-time favorite consoles. Like, I practically fused with mine through sheer playtime. I poured thousands of hours into that little clamshell of joy, and lately I've been hoarding DS games, and I'm playing them here on the channel thanks to my trusty DS capture card. The touchscreen was a game changer. It turned every title into a little experiment in chaos and creativity, and I was living for it. Every game had me wondering, how are they gonna make me poke, swipe, or scream into this thing next? And then came Feel the Magic XY/XX, a shining example of what happens when innovation crashes headfirst into pure, unfiltered weirdness. Released in 2004, it was called Kimi no Tame Nara Shiniru in Japan, which translates to the deeply romantic and slightly concerning phrase, I would die for you, and Project Rub in Europe, which, yeah. The game follows a silent protagonist attempting to win over the girl of his dreams, aided by a mysterious performance art group cult called the Rub Rabbits in a series of silly, chaotic minigames. Now, I'm not saying the suggestive name and mildly suggestive cover art were the only reasons I picked it up back in the day, but let's just say teenage me wasn't not intrigued. Spoiler alert, it's tamer than it looks. And, just to add to the weirdness factor a bit, it was developed by Sonic Team, because apparently, after saving animals from robots, the natural next step is helping a guy impress a girl by blowing into a microphone. The game opens with a warning to not attempt to recreate any of the in-game situations, which, honestly, is the best possible way to start a game like this. If it needs a legal disclaimer right out of the gate, you know you're in for something unhinged. The start screen has more of the same 70s Bikini Babe motif as the cover, keeping things pretty consistent, and then the game gets weird. The action kicks off with Scene 0, which is probably the most iconic of the game. Our unnamed protagonist is just strolling along, minding his business, when, boom, he locks eyes with the woman of his dreams. He's head over heels in approximately 0.3 seconds. Classic. But before he can even process his sudden crush, a man wearing bunny ears pops out of nowhere and hands him a bowl with a goldfish in it. Why? Don't ask, just go with it. Of course, disaster strikes immediately. Some random dude bumps into our hero, and in the chaos, the fish gets swallowed. Yep, just down the hatch. And now it's our job to get it out. The gameplay? Oh, it's wild. You rub the guy's stomach until he barfs up the fish. There are 3 difficulty levels, but the whole thing is over before you even finish asking yourself, is this really happening? After your stomach massaging heroics, the game treats you like you just saved a kitten from a burning building. And guess who saw it all? That dreamy girl. But plot twist, you're not the only guy whose attention she caught. Enter creepy rival guy. Our protagonist, now totally committed to impressing this mystery woman, decides there's only one logical course of action. Join the elite, vaguely cult-like group known as the Rub Rabbits, because why ask a woman for her number when you can just get up to antics? The next scene is broken up into 3 minigames, starting with Parachute. The comic for this one just shows dudes falling out of a plane. Our goal is to type out the numbers of the parachuters into a calculator while they fall in order to launch their parachutes. Does it make any sense? Absolutely not. It's pretty fun though. There's 5 different levels, each increasing in difficulty, but after the 3rd level, you get a little break with a short cutscene of the Dream Girl. This is true of all the minigames actually, with a few different options to cycle through. It was a cute gimmick at first, but eventually it just became kind of an annoying roadblock later on. Clearing the minigame gets us points in a heart meter. To clear the scene, we have to fill up the heart. Easy enough. The next minigame in this scene is called Candle. You just have to blow into the microphone to snuff out the candle. If you blow too hard, the dudes will pass out for a minute. The instructions mentioned something about rubbing the candle too, but I never did. This is a really weird thing to try to recap actually. Our heart meter's almost full now, so let's move on. Next up is Cart. This one's less weird, you just have to clear out the spiky balls from the road so that people riding shopping carts can get through. As the level increases, so do the amount of spiky balls and how many people are going down the hill. I did accidentally take out a dude once, but you get 3 lives before you have to start the minigame over, which is really nice. And once all 5 levels are cleared, Scene 1's heart is filled and we're rewarded with a cutscene of the protagonist girl almost interacting, but a stampede of bulls comes in and tries to squish her, so we gotta take care of that instead. Bull is our first boss minigame and is the sole minigame of Scene 2. The goal here is to tap 100 bulls to clear them out and avoid the humans. You only have 1 life, so if you don't remove a bull in time or if you tap a person, you have to start all over again. Most bulls only have to be tapped once, but some take multiple hits. The final bull takes 100 taps to defeat. Once its armor is broken off, it turns back into a regular bull, and then we're rewarded with a love scene. Scene 3. Occasionally, we get to play minigames that directly interact with the girl. This one is called Cleanup, where our hero approaches his dirtied love interest with some wash pads in order to, well, clean her up. We're legit just wiping mud off of her in order to fill up her heart bar. At first, I thought scrubbing too long hurt her or something, but her weird blushes and noises were actually what's filling up the meter. Each spot seems to make her make a different noise, by the way. I'm not a fan. This one is also just pretty awkward. Eventually, she's cleaned up and glowing like a freshly detailed car, and of course, we're rewarded with a cute little cutscene, as if the game is patting us on the back for engaging in some extremely questionable romance mechanics. Scene 4 is another one that's broken up into more than one minigame. The first is Antlion, where a giant antlion has created a pit that we have to save people from by dragging them upwards. The sand moves faster, the people get heavier, and they're placed lower as the levels increase. Even with that though, it's a pretty easy clear. The second minigame is Bus Stop. I actually really enjoyed this one despite not being very good at it at first. Our protag turns into a bowling ball that we then have to roll towards people across the street without missing or hitting any vehicles along the way. You know, as one does. I messed this up a lot. It was still really fun though. Our reward, though, is less fun. We get a cutscene that shows a little girl drowning, and our protag claiming that he was unable to save her. The little girl's features also look suspiciously like a certain manic pixie dream girl, though. Anyway, Scene 5 rolls in with 2 minigames and a whole lot of emotional damage, mostly to me. First up, Monocycle, and let me tell you, this one gave me issues. Not because the game itself is broken, but because my DS capture card decided to gaslight me with janky touchscreen calibration. So here I am, trying to guide our boy along these tightrope thin paths while he's wobbling and whimpering like he just realized unicycling isn't covered by his health insurance. The actual game? Just tracing increasingly complex paths before time runs out. It's like a toddler's Connect the Dots book, except with more panic and the looming threat of failure. Still, despite the DS fighting me at every turn, I managed to scrape through it. Second up is Painter. All we have to do is graffiti some walls while avoiding spray painting the random parachuters that are falling from the top of the building. You can lose a life by running out of time, spraying the parachuters, or by spraying outside of the lines. It was admittedly not my favorite by any stretch of the imagination. But then, plot twist. Our boy finally gathers the courage to call up Dream Girl and ask her out. And it's adorable. Or at least it would be if Creepy Rival Guy wasn't literally lurking outside the window. I mean, there's a reason why I'm calling him Creepy Rival Guy. The next scene opens up with a wild comic where Dream Girl gets absolutely covered in scorpions. That leads to the first of 3 minigames bundled here, aptly named Scorpion. They did it. We just gotta tap the scorpions off of her while avoiding hitting her body. But she's totally chill about it, no screaming, no flailing, just your average Tuesday being buried alive in venomous arthropods. Next up is Sign, which is the closest thing that we've gotten to a puzzle so far. When you touch a panel, the adjacent panels also flip over. Our goal is to complete the picture without going over the amount of touches that are shown in the lower left corner. I didn't see that at first and messed up thinking that I had to just do it in a time limit. I'm good at paying attention, pals. Really. But once I realized that, it was easy peasy. The last game for this scene is Microphone. You just have to yell into the microphone to get the girl's attention. That's it. Sometimes there's distractions, but it's still really easy. I just blew into the mic the whole time. It worked. Romance is alive. Finishing this scene gives us another cute cutscene where our hero sits closer to the girl on a bench. It's time for another love scene though. This one is just called Hands, and the flavor text says, "Touch her," which was decently weird. All that needs to be done here is holding the girl's hand to fill up the bar while also swatting away any bees that come bother her. Quick, simple, mildly weird, though I was becoming rapidly desensitized to anything odd in this. Just when things are starting to get sweet though, Creepy Rival Guy jumps in like a dollar store Bond villain and kidnaps Dream Girl. Now we have our first real taste of drama. It leads directly into our next boss scene with the minigame Drive. This one has a few more moving parts than the other games. We have to collect men that are running in the street while avoiding cars, then throw the men with the giant slingshot into the boss car. Moving actually requires turning the steering wheel with a stylus. I like this a lot, it was much more active than most of the other minigames. And hey, beating this scene unlocks a new hairstyle for Dream Girl. Apparently this game has customization options, which I hadn't noticed because I've been too busy slapping scorpions and dodging parachuters and yelling into the mic. You know, we escape the villain and launch into our next single minigame scene, this time highlighting Yacht. Dream Girl falls out of our boat, and now we have to rescue her by blowing into the sail to reach her. As the levels progress, they started to add sharks that we have to avoid, much like the cars in Bus Stop. I made it through without losing any lives, just in time for our couple to get hit with a wave and stranded on a remote island. Our next love scene is Bonfire. This one's hot. Literally. We have to maintain the bonfire while undressing Dream Girl so that she can get out of her soaked clothes to warm up. I struggled with the timing on this, but I think it was more issues with my DS's touchscreen than anything else. After waving hello to the bonfire a few times, I finally figured it out and got her disrobed. There's no saucy cutscene after, though. Womp. Now, our couple is bored on the beach, so what are they to do but dance? This is just Simon Says with extra steps. Protag just has to copy what Dream Girl does. It was pretty fun at first, but got old pretty quickly. Not much else to say here, honestly. I do have something to say about Scene 11's next game, though. It starts out with our protag getting straight up vored by a giant snake. We have to guide him through the snake while avoiding any obstacles in our path. I was really bad at this and actually failed on level 1. Not my proudest moment. I cleared it out on my next run though, and we became the goldfish from the start of the game. The final game in this section is Seeker. Dream Girl trips and loses all of her stuff in the sand, and it's our job to find different items while avoiding picking up very similarly looking things that are also on this deserted beach. I can think of several other games that have similar mechanic on the DS. It was a staple for the system. One more scene completed, and our reward this time is another cutscene about the little girl that was drowning. It was totally Dream Girl. She doesn't seem to know it was our hero that saved her though. Speaking of saving, Scene 12's game is a boss battle called Plants. It features us having to burn a giant monster plant that has kidnapped Dream Girl. This thing is a giant carnivorous flora kaiju that is not messing around. You have to dodge tentacles, light them on fire, and chuck flaming sticks into its mouth between chomps. 3 phases of pure leafy rage. It was so hard I actually rage quit and walked away, which makes this plant officially the most emotionally devastating thing in the game. Yes, even more than the heartfelt romance scenes. I finally beat Scene 12's Leafy Demon after an embarrassing number of tries. I'm talking sit in silence for a moment and reevaluate life choices levels of relief. But of course, because this game thrives on emotional whiplash, the moment I save Dream Girl, creepy rival guy swoops in yet again and kidnaps her. Bro really needs a hobby that doesn't involve stalking and abduction. Scene 13 begins and we're right back in rescue mode, this time via Chaser, which is basically Unicycle Ocean Edition. Why are there floating roads in the sea? Why are we chasing someone on a unicycle instead of literally anything else? Because this is Feel the Magic. Dream Girl's in peril, and that means it's time for stunt cycling nonsense. This one was a different level of frustrating because of the issues with my DS. I'd randomly fall off because the touchscreen was registering my inputs as slightly off to the side. This was another instance of having to walk away for a bit out of frustration. I returned to it the next day and was triumphant almost immediately. Sometimes you really do just have to take a break in order to succeed. Scene 14 involves us breaking into Creepy Guy headquarters. The minigame, named Steal, involves avoiding flashlight-wielding lackeys by distracting them with cats. I fumbled a few times, but had an overall better experience with this one than the last 2 that nearly broke me. They really ramped up the difficulty in the later scenes. Once that was done, our hero gets nightmare gassed by Creepy Rival Guy, and now we have to relive the 3 previous boss battles. The mechanics are the same, but we now have a groovy pink/inverted color palette and some added creepier visuals. The bowl game was still really easy, and I had no issues, but appreciated how it looked overall. I actually thought the Drive Nightmare felt cooler in this version. The vibes were wild. I loved how the sky looked and everything. I was really into it. And, in a real twist, the Plant Nightmare actually also went really smoothly. I was legitimately worried, but all of that practice from hell earlier actually seemed to help. The nightmare gas clears out of the hero's system, and now he's having flashbacks to when Dream Girl was drowning again. It's an interesting tie-in to make them actually connected versus her just being a random woman on the street, but the cutscenes involving it are pretty repetitive. He wakes up shortly after to see that Creepy Rival Guy has her trapped in the hand of a giant mech. Conveniently enough, the Rub Rabbits actually have their own mech, so we can do a giant legally distinct Gundam battle to rescue her. The battle itself is just Fruit Ninja on steroids. We have to rapidly slice through the missiles that are shot at us, and then trace shapes in the rival mech's chassis when he flies down in order to do damage to him. This was difficult only because of how quickly I had to react in order to not take damage myself. Eventually, I just started swiping randomly at the missiles because there was no penalty for not following the exact shapes. Once the mech's down, we have one final rival minigame, literally called Final Battle, despite the previous one being called Last Battle. There's no logic here. We're in Feel the Magic Land. Words don't mean things. The game itself is really random and silly. We have to rub our neck with a towel in order to charge an electric beam at creepy rival guy. It's an intense game of tug of war, basically. I couldn't figure out what the game actually wanted from me right away, and lost. But after consulting ye old game facts circa 2006, I learned the proper technique and blasted the creeper away. Of course, that would be too anticlimactic, so he gets up with enough power to shoot one more beam our way. Dreamgirl takes the hit, and we get a really dramatic monologue from our hero, begging her not to die, which leads to our final minigame, Magic Touch. We have to touch the heart and blow on the screen in what's basically a weird CPR rhythm game. Sometimes a little death gremlin appears and we have to swat him away too.
Is that the Grim Reaper?
I'm gonna be real, I accidentally killed her once. Whoops. She stands up after successfully getting the heart meter to fill and Feel the Magic is complete. We get a really cute cutscene where she realizes that our hero is who saved her when she was a little girl too, and they kiss before the credits roll. Aww. Overall, this was actually a really fun game. Super weird, but that played into how fun it was for sure. It's really held up all these years, and I would give it a solid 4 out of 5. It's not a perfect game, but it checks all of the boxes for solid entertainment. I really enjoy these rapid-fire minigame collections, like WarioWare too, so it's no real surprise that I enjoyed this one. But if you enjoyed this video, I upload videos every Wednesday recapping a retro game like this one. I also upload videos every Friday that tour abandoned Animal Crossing towns I get off of eBay. It's a lot of fun. Don't forget to subscribe if you don't want to miss the next video, and I'd love to hear from you if you'd like to comment. Thanks for watching! Bye-bye!